Hi everyone, welcome to Maximum Attack Rallying. You're going to have to excuse me for the slightly strange location. I'm actually in a hotel in Reims. I'm going to blame my friend Will for this slightly crappy room because he booked this hotel and we had a bit of a nightmare checking in. But here we are. So slightly weird location. You will see more about why I am here in the next video on Thursday. But for this one, I'm going to take a little bit of a detour into the world of rallycross, which is rallying's kind of delinquent cousin. So last week we heard that there are going to be some pretty big changes for next season to the World Rallycross Championship, which is essentially being canned in favour of a European-based series. There is talk of bringing back World Rallycross in the future and also having some kind of World Rallycross Cup, but we don't have any details of that. But I want to talk about it because A, it's interesting, B, it also kind of feeds into the WRC type narrative in terms of direction. So I thought it was just worth a little mention just for me to say a few things and to get your thoughts on it. So it's been a weird few years, hasn't it, for World Rallycross? So if we go back 9 or 10 years, there was lots of manufacturer interest from Peugeot and Ford and others. But then we've sort of had a pretty serious decline in recent times. Obviously, we've had some issues recently with the Hansen team struggling to get themselves on the grid and pulling out of the rest of the season. So there's been some pretty big turbulent events, I suppose, in terms of World RX recently. The biggest change that we're about to see, aside from the change from a European to a world, from a world to a European format, is the end of the electric rallycross cars. So that technology was supposed to save the championship, but after just 4 seasons, it has now been scrapped. It's a bold move, of course, for the FIA to do that. They don't seem to be afraid of making those decisions where rallycross is concerned, having already taken the promotion of the championship in-house. So that said, while that was controversial, it is not hard to see why the decision has been made to get rid of the electric cars. You know, if you look at a top-level rallycross supercar, they are anything but cheap. But the figures have come out. I read them the other day. The Chrysler, who were the supplier for the electric powertrain for World Rallycross cars, that drivetrain, that battery and motor combo, was €300,000 plus a €100,000 service fee for 3 seasons. And you have to ask yourself, doesn't it? Don't you? What privateer would ever be able to justify spending $300,000 to buy an electric motor and battery and pay €100,000 for 3 years servicing when they could just go out and buy an old R5 rally car for €100,000 and spend less than €100,000 on an upgrade engine package for it? So I think the numbers attached to those electric cars are simply staggering. That said, another part of me thinks that it is a bit of a shame that EVs are being taken out of rallycross, because if any off-road championship, I suppose you could say, was going to suit the EV format, you know, it should be the short, sharp heats and competition of rallycross, shouldn't you know? If any series was going to suit EVs, it should be that one. And it was the perfect space for manufacturers to demonstrate technology, wasn't it? But once again, it's the single supplier issue, isn't it? Just like we saw with Compact Dynamics and their spec hybrid system in the WRC, it didn't allow manufacturers any potential for innovation. It offered no marketing value by extension, while it was also far too expensive for privateers to run it in their own cars. So it was I think, unfortunately, it was a bit of a dead end, wasn't it? I think, unfortunately, though, another concerning parallel with WRC is that the FIA have said, going forward, that they are looking for the European or World Rallycross, whatever you want to now call it, to adopt the 2027 WRC regulations from 2028, citing the reduction in cost as one of the main reasons alongside safety. So will it reduce costs for World Rallycross? Yeah, sure it will. That's always what happens, isn't it, with a single supplier? Single suppliers always reduce cost and are always of benefit to the competitors, right? Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. Regardless of my views on that, it is going to be interesting to see how things pan out. I think switching to a European format is certainly a downgrade in some respects. You know, obviously going from a World Championship to a European Championship as a top level is going to be seen as a downer. That said, it is going to make it easier for privateers who obviously won't have those travel and logistic costs associated not only with the electric cars but also with only competing in Europe. I think it's perhaps concerning that they are tying the fate of Rallycross to the WRC in terms of the 2027 regulations. That feels like a huge risk. At this stage, we don't know how many manufacturers are going to be interested in building cars to those 2027 regulations. We don't know how many tuners are going to do so, and ultimately that is going to impact the future of Rallycross, and it's also going to add an extra level of complexity because Rallycross teams are going to demand more performance from those cars, aren't they? So that is going to require potentially manufacturers and tuners to offer alternative engine and maybe even transmission packages. So we don't know how that's going to look right now and how it's going to fit into the FIA's model for the regulation. So there are definitely some questions to consider there. And I think perhaps the bigger question is, you know, long term, the FIA would like to get Rallycross back onto the world stage on a permanent basis. But you have to ask yourself, will any manufacturers care about that? Particularly with the championship going down an internal combustion only route. You know, I think there are some big questions there. Whatever your feelings about EVs, you know, I think the direction of travel for the industry is still going to be forced that way by legislation. So I think there's some big questions there, and that is going to influence whether manufacturers take part. And we just don't know the answers to that, do we? We don't know the answers to that right now. So just like with the WRC, time will tell. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens, aren't we? So let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you think this is a good move, a bad move, or an indifferent one? So I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts about that. Other than that, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, follow me on socials and all that stuff, and hopefully next time I do a video talking to the camera like this, it won't be sitting in a manky hotel room in northern France. See you next time.